Scared my internet connection is going to fail us. It keeps on like telling me we'll reconnect when you're stronger, and it's like that sounds like my internet's breaking up with me.
Constantly piss the pot.
Piss the pot. Wow, what a.
Have you never heard of the toilet referred to as the pot?
I know, like, get off the pot. What is it? Shit or get off the pot?
Shit or get off the pot. Yes, that is a toilet reference.
So pot is like pot. Man, the word pot has so many meanings. Pothole. Pot is weed. Pot is something you cook in.
Is this exclusively an English language thing, or do you have a lot of like Spanish words that can be like a dozen different things depending on context? I know you have vaina.
I'm sure there are, but I think my favorite double meaning is esposa is wife and esposas is handcuffs. And
That's very good.
It's very funny because
yeah.
It tells you a lot about the person that made that word.
It also kind of like gives authorship to the language. Like somebody who determined that was the word was having a rough day with the missus.
One of my favorite like genres on the internet is people making fun of boomers. Like 75% of boomer humor is like men complaining about their wives or hating their wives. I didn't even notice it until like I started watching some clips and people were like, yeah, I'm a boomer and my wife's a fucking bitch. And like you can't like it's like that's the funniest thing that's ever been said.
Oh, everybody marking out for it.
And then millennials are like, yeah, no, I think I like my wife.
Yeah.
This is a revolutionary idea.
I am just starting to witness friends who are a little bit older than me start to do those like coded language ways of communicating how their spouse is doing. If like somebody's zooming from their bedroom being like, where the magic happens. And they were like, not a lot of magic in here anymore.
Oh my God, yes, it's so funny.
They're starting. It's like you hit 40 and then suddenly you just want to start negging a little bit of your life circumstances because you realize there's no real turning around now.
Okay, hot take. You know how people are like, social media is creating unrealistic beauty standards, right?
Yes.
I also think social media is creating unrealistic relationship standards. Everyone posting about their relationship is like, it's too much. It's like you cannot be that happy all the time.
You can't be a couple that's constantly making TikToks about relationships together.
TikToks? TikToks.
Did I say TikToks?
The young people on their TikToks and the TikToks.
Did I just call any social media a Nintendo?
Oh my God.
Kris and Joanna are close friends with nothing in common. To start a weekly conversation, they ask, "Can I have a word?"
I think your attitude is of an old man. I think you're just like, I'm an old man.
It's been that way for at least 20 years.
Yeah, ever since you were like 19.
I think it's that I grew this beard and then immediately was like, there's wisdom nobody knows about, and I ain't giving it to them.
Meanwhile, I'm like, anytime I'm at Trader Joe's and they don't ask for my ID when I buy wine, I'm like actively spiraling. I'm like, I'm sorry, did you need to see my ID? It's like, no, we're good. Yeah. No, we're good. No, we're good. No, we're not good.
Devil's advocate, they see your eagerness to give the ID and they just assume that you're a person threatened by your aging.
Maybe. I mean,
I think you got to play it cool. You walk into a Trader Joe's, you buy a bottle of wine, they don't ask for the ID, and then you act so flattered.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't have to act flattered. I would actually be utterly flattered. When I get asked for my ID, it actually turns my entire day around.
Maybe I didn't understand how sad this was.
No, it's very sad. Yesterday, this woman came up to me and she was like, "Oh my God, Bethany?" And I'm like, "Oh," and she's like, "Bethany, how are you?" And I'm like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "Bethany." I'm like, "No, I'm Joanna." And she's like, "Oh my God, you look just like Bethany blank." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, yeah, all compliments. Bethany is gorgeous. Spoiler alert, Bethany, 1, not gorgeous, 2, also like looks 60. So
oh no.
I was like, I'm scarred. I don't know if I'll ever get over this.
This is like when younger people at like coffee shops tell you they grew up watching your videos.
Oh my God, I'll never forget that. I grew up watching your stuff. And it's like a full-grown adult. It's not like a little kid. Like this person can rent a car,
Yep. Well.
Just barreling towards death, I guess. Anyway, can I have a word?
That is the quickest we've ever gotten to the question. Seemed like a subject you didn't want to talk about. I can give you the word.
Save me.
The word is fiction.
Damn. Okay.
Is that too broad?
I mean, it's just I write fiction all day, so it's like you just fed me. It's like feeding a doctor like the flu as like a fun point of conversation.
Well, there's many ways we can take it. First of all, do you want to do this entire conversation as characters? We can be fictitious the entire time.
I don't know if the entire conversation, but I would love to have a fictitious conversation with fictitious characters at some point.
Okay. Well, keep it in mind. Pick your time, churn in your voucher, and we can do it.
I mean, I do have a hot take about the word fiction.
Please.
I don't understand why fiction, which means like made up, is fiction, but then nonfiction, which is not made up, is nonfiction. Like if you're going to use the word non, you should have it on the word that means that it's not real.
Right.
Like when I was little, I'd always be like, I want to read a book that's fair. And then I'd like go into my head and you'd see me spiraling like, oh my God, is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? Is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And I'd always fuck up.
I've never thought about it that way, but I think you're entirely right. Like it should be, I want to read something not real today.
Exactly.
Or I want to read a non-realistic narrative.
Yes.
No disagreement out of me.
Oh my God. What are we going to bicker about then?
I think it is confusing to define the fake thing as a legitimate genre and then to make a subcategory or derivative of a genre to be the real thing.
I don't love reading fiction or watching fiction very much anymore. I mean, I do it almost like an exercise in like writing and in becoming a better writer and in understanding acting, but I don't enjoy it very much.
I think maybe like you, it's like spent too much time making it, a little burnt out consuming it.
I'm a little burnt out. Like you're going to tell me I'm going to read a book which takes weeks to sorry, I just got a text from someone and I don't know who it is and they're just like, hey, are you coming? And now I'm absolutely panicking.
No, listen. No. All right, you want to talk about a fiction of our world today? That's a spam. That's spam.
Hey, are you coming? Are you sure? Okay,
totally
wait.
Spam. I got one the other day being like, hey, you looking for work?
I've had the work one. Remote work. I've had the work one.
Yeah. That's how any person that I freelanced with for like 8 years in the past would have messaged me, and I would have to be like, I'm sorry, who's this? And then I'll get sent to a link or something.
I think there's levels of scams, and I think there's levels of evil within scams. I have to tell you the story of how I got scammed, but I think it's like especially evil to be like, I want to target someone who doesn't have a job and desperately needs one to the point of responding to a random text because they're desperate to work. Like that is, you're a fucking asshole.
I think about that all the time in terms of like how desperate of a headspace would I have to be in that a random number I don't recognize via a text message feels like the golden ticket that suddenly showed up, instead of viewing it skeptically as clearly a scam.
Yeah.
That's the way I felt about email scams, and yet older people fell for them all of the time. People that are just in vulnerable positions fall for these things, and yeah, it is a plague in the world of fiction.
My mom has fallen for scams. And
really? Wait. I thought you were going to tell me a scam story.
No, I got scammed.
So 2 housemans have been scammed.
Yes. Here's the thing. I think my mom deserved to be scammed. It was just too obvious. Like, it was obviously a scam. Like,
sure. My mom, not a bad person, but she got what was coming to her.
My mom, like, I get to the kitchen one day, like, I was visiting my parents, and I go to the kitchen and she's like, I already told you my credit card number. And I'm like, who are you talking to? And she's like, Verizon. Verizon called me and tell me that I am late on my bill. I'm like, Verizon's not going to call you, Mom. Why are you giving your credit card number over the phone? And she's like, wait, you say it's a scam? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, but I already gave and we like hung up. And then it happened to her again where someone called her from Apple.
Just Apple?
They're like, oh, we need your Apple password. And my mom's like, God, this always happens to me. And I'm like, no, Mom, that was a scam.
Yeah, that was also a scam.
No, but I got scammed pretty bad. And like, I guess it's interesting. How did you put it that scams were like
a plague in the fictitious world or the world of fiction?
No, it's a plague of fiction in the world of nonfiction.
We're making this far more complicated than it needs to be.
You know what?
And right now, it feels like a bit, but I sense we're going to get trapped in it.
We're going to get trapped in it. I think we're going to like inception ourselves into realizing that we're talking in fiction within the world of nonfiction. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway.
That's right.
I got scammed.
So what was the point of entry? Was it an email? Was it a phone call? What got you to the door of the scammer?
The dishwasher in my apartment was like fucked up, right? It just wasn't working. So I went to my building's handyman and was like, hey, like, can you fix this? He's like, I can't fix this, but I can recommend to you someone who is a dishwasher repair man. And I'm like,
yes.
I love that. I love men that like repair dishwashers when I need my dishwasher repaired.
Suddenly, I'm very pro men.
Just men that fix one item in my house and leave. It's a phone number. I call and I'm like, yeah, my dishwasher's not working. And he's like, I can be there in 30 minutes. And I'm like, I fucking love this guy.
Eager shows a commitment to fixing your problem for you. What is not to love?
Exactly. And I'm like, 30 minutes? What a dream. I thought I was going to wait weeks or days for this.
Totally.
So this guy arrives. He looks like a like college sophomore with a bag. It's an empty tool bag. He just looks like someone's son. And I'm like, this is not the man that comes fixes things in my house. This is a kid who like, I don't know, like would tag along with a guy that fixes my dishwasher.
An apprentice. He's not yet wise enough.
He's not yet wise enough.
He doesn't know what filter you fix in there.
He doesn't know. Anyway.
I'm assuming that's what was broken. I don't know.
This is not what I expected. And I was like, well, maybe this is an LA thing. Like every guy that came in to fix my shit in New York was like a weatherman from Eastern Europe who's like, yes, I saw war. Anyway, here's your clean sink. It's done, you know? And I'm like, well, maybe people in LA, I don't know, there's like a youth movement for repairmen. I don't know. So I was like, don't judge him or his empty tool bag. Like the handyman recommended this guy to you, right?
Right.
This guy comes in and like opens my dishwasher and like presses 3 buttons and says, yeah, the motherboard is down.
The motherboard?
And I made a joke and I was like, well, I don't know, but I didn't see any alien parts in this dishwasher. And he didn't laugh and he's like, we need to replace the motherboard. And I'm like, okay, well, how much?
Because also, I believe what you're trying to reference is a mothership.
Oh.
A motherboard's like in a computer.
Oh my God. Wow. The word mother just like, okay, computers and aliens. Let's go, baby.
Too many uses.
Too many uses for mother.
And pot can't say anything. That'd be pot calling the kettle black.
That'd be pot calling the kettle black for pot to say to mother, hey, you're used in too many ways.
Okay.
My God. Okay, anyway.
So a motherboard needs fixed. Your joke hits flat.
Yeah, absolutely. And he looks nervous. And I was like, okay, well, how much is this going to cost me? And he goes, $1,300. And I went, I'm sorry, $1,300? And he was like, no, I mean $300. And I'm like, you said 13. And he's like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, you did though. And he's like, oh wait, no, I mean $130. And I'm like, okay. Whatever, dude. I'm like, this guy is dumb as a like rocks.
Actively negotiating himself down because then 130 becomes, do you make a labor payment out of this? Like, are you getting paid, buddy?
I'm like, what's going on? So then I was like, okay, so then like, what are next steps? He's like, I gotta order it for you, so I'll be back in the next couple days. But you can like pay for it now. And I'm like, I'm not gonna pay for it now. And he's like, okay, well, you gotta pay a minimum of $99. And I'm like, okay, fine. Where do I pay? He's like, you can pay me through Cash App. And I'm like, okay, but I need a receipt for the landlord. He's like, I'll email it to you. And then he just like in a rush left.
It's like you were asking too many questions. Suddenly he's like, I didn't plan for this in improv class.
Yeah. But then he like disappeared. And I spent days calling this number. He won't pick up. I tell my husband and he's like, maybe he's just busy. And I'm like, I think I got scammed. And he's like, I don't think you got scammed. Like, the building wouldn't recommend a guy that's a scammer. Like, that's kind of weird. Then I go to the handyman and I'm like, hey bro, like, can you, like, what's going on? These people have ghosted me and I paid them.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'll figure it out. And then he's like, hey, I just called and they said that you never called and they've never been to this building. And so maybe you imagined it. And I'm like,
what?
Oh,
No, I did not imagine it. I made a motherboard joke.
I made okay. Oh, no.
And honestly, not as receptive as he should have been.
If he had laughed, I wouldn't have gotten this angry. Do you think I'm creating just a fictional reality in my mind right now? Like, do you think a normal person would be like, oh, I'm sorry, I just imagined a dishwasher repairman. And he said it with a straight face, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. This is illegal. And I went into like murderous rage. Like, I feel like women are constantly gaslit into thinking that they're overreacting, or like, you know, and I was like, no, I know what I'm thinking, I know what I'm doing. So I went to the building manager and I'm like, why are you recommending this number? And the building manager was like, I've never seen this number in my life. This is not a vetted repairman. This is a new handyman. Maybe he didn't know. He probably just Googled it. So then I Googled the number and it is linked to a bunch of scams. Like this motherfucker's been scamming left and right. And you know what? I want revenge. So I started calling this guy from different phone numbers because he knew not to pick up any 617
Of course.
And I just started berating him and like
interesting
and like ruining his life and having him go to like different addresses. One thing is to be scammed like via text or like on email. Another thing is for a scammer to come into your house, take off their shoes, like touch your dishwasher.
Had an in-person relationship for a brief moment in time with the person completing the scam. That elevates it more to like con man at that point, because like you were the mark.
But like when you think of con man, you're like, oh my God, Leonardo DiCaprio and Catch Me If You Can. Like just like a genius, a good actor, you know?
It's like a slick suit and like a whole like a highfalutin life that like they're existing in that you get to be privy to.
Not a kid that looks like his mom picked up his outfit from Abercrombie and Fitch. Like there's like, this is not the type of con man I ever would have expected, but it's the one that I got.
It's like winning the lottery to get a smooth scammer.
Yeah, like people that were scammed by Hannah Delvey. Like, oh my God, you end up on a Netflix documentary or a Netflix series.
Now that's the dream.
That's a dream scam.
You tell me I could be scammed and I end up on I'd take a Lifetime special.
Yeah, where people pity you.
Well, I'm a man on a Lifetime special, so I would be the villain in some way still.
That's true.
That's fine. I accept it. Having my face on TV is still my face on TV.
Yeah.
If it's America's Most Wanted, whatever. You know, I was thinking about it as we were getting down this hole. I was a pretty gullible kid. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I fell for the like, freshmen need a elevator pass to go upstairs, sort of like bullying.
The bullies that you scam as a form of psychological torture.
Yeah. The cynical me that you see today is calcified from years of not being cynical, and instead having moved around school to school, just like eager for anyone to talk to me. And so I often would just kind of roll with whatever the vibe was of the people that I was lucky enough or felt fortunate enough to have around me.
Why'd you have to make this sad?
I didn't mean to make that sad. I'm fine. Guys, I'm great. I'm doing fine. Don't think it. No one should ever look at me and pity anything.
It's like a villain origin story. You're like, no one ever wanted to talk to me. I changed schools. I was bullied. Like, this is the beginning of the Joker, bro. Like,
it's just me dancing on the Joker steps. But I don't think as an adult I don't think I've been given the opportunity to fall for a scam. I don't know that everyone's ever come a knocking, which is sad. I think I would welcome it. Again, back to the word a little bit. I welcome any time that being swept up in a narrative can like happen in my real life.
Okay. Have you read, well, I'm sure you're obsessed with Japan, so I'm sure you do know about this.
Okay, wait, I'm sorry. We always have to caveat when you say that I'm obsessed with Japan, that it's not in the pervert way.
No, you're obsessed with the Japanese culture.
Okay, because I'm a bearded white guy.
Okay, yeah, you're so right.
The assumption is that I am a total pervert. And it's like, no. I cook a lot of cuisine, and it was a formative part of my adulthood. It's not just like
Googling it in Pornhub.
Exactly. Now continue.
Wait, I said Googling it in Pornhub.
Yeah.
Googling it in what is
you and
wrong
I
with me?
Are not speaking modern language anymore.
We really don't.
We are accelerating to a point where it's all just words we remembered from a bygone era.
A bygone era. It's like when people would speak in the Atlantic accent and would say things like, come here, sport. Come here, look at this split. And then like we're in that cusp where we're saying things that the new generation is like, no.
We are all discovering our inner Hepburn.
We are millennial core.
Wait, what was the thing you said that made you think of me like in Japan?
So, talking about fiction. So, there's this weird mental condition. It's rare, but it's surprisingly prevalent, where people really believe that they are in a reality show and that everyone is acting and that all of it is being recorded, that they're in like basically a Truman Show, to the point where there's like a word for this mental illness. It's become a mental illness of this time of this historical era.
You think the running theory behind it is like because of how much we all document our lives now, that it feels like it's blurred a line between what is just my life and existing and what is for someone else?
I think so. And I also think that like people in the 1800s, one, didn't have time to overthink things because they were dying of scarlet fever. But then two, they were also like, what is a camera? Like, what's television? Like, you know, but it is a paranoia. I feel like it's a subset of paranoia. Why did I bring up Japan? Because there's this show that was very popular. I don't know how many years ago, but I know it was during an era where Japan was like going through not the best economic time. And they had this show where they took this comedian and put him in an empty apartment. And like basically he was like tortured. Like he had to like do crazy things for food, deliver food, and then say, oh, you don't have money, and like walk away. Then when the like 3 weeks, or I don't know how long he was there, but like several weeks were up, I don't remember, they were like, okay, you're free, and then you're winning a trip to Korea. And then they arrived to Korea, and then they put him in the same exact apartment and like have
that's
him
fucked up.
Yeah, and he became the most famous man in Japan, and people were, it was a 24-hour feed of him.
Interesting.
And people were obsessed with looking and observing this guy. And I heard an interview about him. I think there's a documentary on Hulu now. And he's just like, yeah, I guess people needed an escape from their life, but like it wasn't fiction. It was my life. Like I was kind of psychologically tortured for other people's enjoyment for weeks.
Being held hostage by entertainment is a fascinating idea to me.
I say we try it.
You want to lock someone up? Is it putting one of us, or is it getting one of our friends?
I think I put you in.
Me? That's not right.
Actually, you have a child. I couldn't do that.
No. Let's get past those logistics. But that kid is probably better off without my influence. I think that I would just be a boring subject.
You'd like probably figure out a board game with like pieces of cardboard.
Yeah, it's like, who wants to watch me bullet journal for an hour every morning or something? I live a boring life.
Bullet journal?
Yeah, it's like a system for keeping track of tasks and things in a handwritten document. Don't at me.
Sorry.
I'm trying to better myself.
No, that's good. Good for you. Whatever.
I thought when you were about to the subject of living a fiction in your real life, you were going to bring up the very real phenomenon of people as adults believing that they have imaginary friends still.
Isn't that schizophrenia? I see them with people around my house all the time, and they're screaming and yelling.
It's not schizophrenia necessarily. There is a term called tulpas.
Wait, spell this.
Tulpas for plural. Tulpas. And it's the idea that like you can manifest a being in your mind that for your experience is fully real and everything that you need them to be. And they have their own personalities. They can come and they can go. It is imaginary friends. Kind of glossed in like this like pseudo-Buddhist vibe in order to make it seem like it's more believable. You're hearing my skepticism, of course. But the idea of committing so hard to something fictitious that it gains its own gravity and becomes real is a frightening thought.
Wait, is this like Tom Hanks with Wilson in The Castaway?
So, that's a good entry point into thinking about this, is that like, you like needed somebody in a state of isolation, you manifest meaning into this object.
So tulpas is like it's like a Buddhist practice where you're
no, it's not. No, I said pseudo-Buddhist because I think the people that will try to justify it as like, no, this is like a real thing, man. You know, like you'll find a subreddit for tulpas.
Oh my
God.
God.
They're just talking about their tulpas. They try to like inject spirituality into it as a means of justification, in my opinion.
Oh.
But again, that blurs a line of fiction and fact. It's like by giving it a justification that's steeped in a world that we all sort of know about. Like, we don't have too many friends in our life that actually know about being Buddhist. But you say something is Buddhist, you go, oh, interesting. I bet it's calming.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be like, I don't want to ask any questions because what if I offend someone?
I just want to take it in.
Yeah. I'm just gonna assume this is wise.
So like they code it in something akin to that. I'm not gonna go on the record and say it is Buddhist. But anyway, that thought is crazy to me. I mean, it is sort of like, there was like a TikTok trend years ago where, God, I can't remember the term for it, but younger people were like manifesting their own dimensions to exist in. And they were like, I'm in a Harry Potter existence now. And they would like report via TikTok.
What?
Like,
what
was going on in their world. Do you remember this?
Yes. I also remember this like trend of these kids claiming, I'm not going to say they were right or wrong, that they had multiple people living within them, and then they would get on TikTok and be like, hi, today I am Erica. Today I am Brock. And
yes.
And it was like weird because I'm like, you are all these people, but then all of these people know to log on to the same TikTok.
Yeah. Yes, all of these personalities, they have their own differences and their own things that they're really focused on, but they all believe in monetizing.
On the same platform with the
right.
same login.
There's no disagreement. They all had a community meeting about it.
I'm like, bro, I don't know if I believe it.
Now, let's point it back at our faces here.
Oh, God.
Are we just too close-minded to accept lines being blurred? Are we people that feel like we need lines and categories in order to feel safe existing?
I think that people should. I think society depends on us sharing a semblance of a shared reality.
And I don't want to conflate this argument in saying that we're like also blending it in with like mental health stuff necessarily. Obviously, there are like mental health illnesses that create sort of torn realities for people.
Oh, but you mean people that are like, oh, they're like, I could live in a torn reality. Let me create a torn reality for myself.
Maybe I'm also thinking of people that like have a lot of ferrets in their house and they think all of their ferrets are their friends. Like, it doesn't have to be their same extremes, right?
Well, I doesn't, if they're not hurting anyone, I don't really give a shit. Would I talk to them, ever? Probably not. I don't really. That's weird.
No,
that's odd.
No, a lot of ferrets mean you smell like pee.
Yeah, it's going to be a no for me, dog. I'm a very anxious person, and I think like we have too much information being fed to us constantly, and even though we are safe and I can go to the grocery store, pick up food, I'm not like literally being hunted. There's no fight or flight here. Like, I do feel like there's a lot to be anxious about in the world, and I can be fed information, clips, videos about horrifying news everywhere, that I wouldn't mind being like, you know what? I'm going to hang out with my best friend Steffi. And it's a pillow, and just like that I can manifest someone being there for me. That why not?
That you're creating escape, right?
Yeah,
that, like you're creating an outlet where you could go that feels safe because what you don't yourself allow in is the reality that is so difficult to process.
Yes. So it's like I think we all need escapes. We all need some level of fiction.
Yes. I love that you and I right now are sort of speaking as to being like resistant to the idea that fiction and fact can blend in together. When also like I met you in an improv class where it was just like, say the first piece of bullshit out loud. Great. We all believe it. Let's do a scene.
Oh my God, you're so right.
And that like our comedic brains have been the training that we were undertaking was about
That's so true.
beating out this sense that like that can't be real or that can't be real.
The first rule of improv is like you just say yes to everything. Like you can't be the asshole that's like, we're not in a fucking spaceship. We're in a room in Midtown, New York. Like, what a fucking dick. You have to let go and live in the fiction in order to build a good scene and in order to be a good comedian. You can't be the fucking literal police.
But maybe the safety in that is that you also know that like it wraps up in 5 minutes.
Right. If you're
not doing it for 5 weeks.
Yeah. Right.
Unless you're like an Andy Kaufman performance artist, right?
Which, man, performance artists are interesting. I'm like, are they artists or do they think of a weird thing to do?
I don't have enough critical eye to know if art is good. I'm just like, well, seems like you had an idea.
I really...
It's like, that's one of my Midwest shows, is that like I don't have a ton of critical thought about fine art.
I love art. Like, going to a museum is my favorite thing. Did we talk about nature last week?
Yes. Joanna Houseman, known to kill a tree.
No, I don't dislike nature. I just like do get bored of it. I'm like, is this it? If I were able to talk to a tree, and maybe I will next time, and the tree had a personality and became my best friend, maybe.
Putting the dipstick in to determine how much nature you are. Were you upset you didn't get to see the eclipse?
I mean, a little bit, but just because because of the FOMO of it.
Because you wanted to like have an Instagram reel about it.
No, okay, no, but because it was like, oh, I would never forget about that day. But that day instead became a forgettable day for me. I just stayed at home sick. Versus, oh my God, it's the day I saw the eclipse. I'll never forget it.
I don't think I quite remembered the rules of eclipses. I thought I couldn't look at it until it was a full blown eclipse. So I did look at the thing, and I got nervous for weeks that I like killed my eyes.
Okay. So
You're not supposed to look at it. You're not supposed to look at it unless you have the
I know.
glasses. And I just looked.
Yeah,
It was
I
like-
looked for 1 second and then I also panicked. I was like, there's a dot in my eye, in my vision. Am I dying?
I was like, I completely seared this. This is my livelihood. I've got nothing left to live for. What am I doing? All because I looked at the sun for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Less than 2 seconds. Like a second.
It's like space. I know we've talked about this.
What about space? Wow, we really took a dip and then you just dropped space. Yeah, please, space.
Here's what I'll say about space.
You think it's fake?
It's not that I think it's fake. It's that I don't know if I believe what I'm not saying that the earth is flat, okay? But I am saying like how like all these physicists like, "Oh my god, yeah, there's a billion galaxies and the Big Bang and everything is ever expanding." I'm like, "How do you know though?" Like I get like how do you maybe you're making this up a little bit.
I'm imagining you right now in a planetarium presentation with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he goes on a long-winded monologue about explaining the vastness of the universe, and then in a Q&A, they hand you the mic, and you just look at him and say, "Bitch, you lying."
Why the fuck you lying? Okay, I'm not saying they're lying. Obviously, they're a lot smarter than me. I'm like, I could not take physics in high school because I literally, I was like, this doesn't, like, give me a story. What do you mean these numbers mean gravity? Get the fuck out of here. I was about to learn if I would get run over by a train if I ran a certain distance towards a, I don't know how helpful. My dad taught, my dad, his college degree was in physics, and I just thought it would be hereditary.
Yeah, you thought a little bit came through the gene pool.
Yeah, 0%. So I'm not saying that, like, I know I'm dumber than all of these people, but I'm like, when I see pictures of what a black hole would probably look like, I'm like, there has to be some fiction here, like, because you haven't seen it. So like, how sure are we that we dumb little humans on this tiny little earth understand and comprehend some, like, space. Space is so scary. I can't. I think I told you.
It's still like this is a tale as old as time in terms of our history. As we gain more intelligence, we see the ways in which we believe something fictitious about the world in order to make it easier for our brains to comprehend. And we're just not at the state yet the layman can understand space enough to where it doesn't feel like you're being fed a whole bunch of lies or bullshit when they tell you the vastness of it.
I think it's really funny that people hundreds of years ago would look at the sky and then they'd be like, "Oh my god, that's Aphrodite." And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Those are 17 dots. I don't understand what these people are talking about.
What, you mean like the constellations?
Yes.
You didn't understand? Yeah, well, because you're in it, you get to see AI make images now, Joa. Like, at the end of the day, like, they got the first, like, connect the dots. That was like that was the extent to what was given to them, and their imaginations had to do the rest.
I guess we can't know what an animal is thinking, but you put an animal in an enclosure and they're just probably vibing. But a human in an enclosure, like this show in Japan, the guy like literally had to start talking to like a piece of furniture, and he had to create like he would do shows for little scraps that he would find. Like he had to create a fictional world for him to
just to like
survive.
break it up.
Yeah. To survive, to remain sane.
That's sad. And also I want to watch it.
I know. I kind of,
I fucking want to pull that up and watch it. Because and the thing is like, I probably wouldn't watch it in real time. I would do a lot of fast forwarding. I was like, just give me to the good part.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to watch, hours upon hours upon hours. I'm also like, when this man had to go to the bathroom, would you see that? I don't want to know,
Oh, I'm sure there was like a room and you shut the door and the camera's not in there. Who wants to see pooping?
I don't.
I don't.
I honestly don't.
I am well aware some people do.
Two girls, one cup.
You didn't have to bring that one up. Where were you when you watched Two Girls, One Cup?
Miller Hall, Tufts University, 3rd floor.
You were out in public?
No, I was in my friend's dorm room.
Oh, a dorm. Okay.
And I remember it. And I was like, this has to be fiction. This has to be fake. This cannot be real. But it was real.
Given what our previous audience in life used to be, I think we might have introduced a lot of people to Googling Two Girls, One Cup for the first time.
I think they've taken it off the internet.
That can't be true. Nothing actually leaves the internet. All right, I will Google it right now.
Oh my God, please, I'm so scared.
For science, I will Google it.
Wasn't there like a follow-up to Two Girls, One Cup that was like...
What, 3 girls, 1 hole?
Something like that.
I'm searching just 2 Girls, 1 Cup. It's on Wikipedia. Oh, it's got its own URL. 2girls1cup.ca.
It's Canadian.
Yes, yeah. Canada's finest in scat film.
You know, I gotta say, I'm surprised. I thought it was from the States.
It felt very American, but throw some syrup on that sucker and you're ready to go.
We're ready to go, baby.
Did we cover fiction well enough?
I think, listen, we talked about fiction as a word. We talked about fiction in the world. We talked about scams, which is a form of fiction. We talked about literal TV fiction, but what is fiction in TV?
I held off this entire time not talking about professional wrestling.
Oh, but I think that's interesting.
No, we're at 45 minutes. We'll do it later.
Fine.
There will be a day that I get to talk about professional wrestling. I don't have to shoehorn it in. We got plenty of time.
Let's get out of here.
You've had those the whole time? I asked you to play a character and you had props?
Yo, let me tell you something, okay? Like, I'm wearing these glasses right now, okay? I'm gonna tell you something right now.
Okay, this character is Tony Pontone.
Yo, my name is Tony Pontone. You know, you should come down to my restaurant. You can have some heel prosciuttos, as we call, you know, my mama.
Oh, Tony.
Yeah,
Tony.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
So every time I talk about my mom, you know, my mom.
Tony.
Oh, I got stuck, man. I got stuck, you know.
Gotta get that looked into, Tony.
I wish I could call her, mother, but mother has too many different meanings, like motherboard, mother brain. What was it? Mothership. I gotta use the word I love, which is mama. Damn, what the hell was that?
Tony Pontone.
Tony Pontone.
Later, Tony.